Hey guys, Analog Man here for another late night deck profile, and as you can see from the title, we are actually looking at Rapidmon, basically green Rapidmon or green Terriermon deck. Basically, what you can basically do to upgrade the deck using the new advanced deck. Basically, most of the parts are actually from the advanced deck, aside from the old Rapidmon from BT8. Uh, a lot of the other stuff is just various other things that Green has basically had for the last like ever basically, like Mimi and like some of the Henrys that we got in BT was or not EX like 2 or 3. So basically, the deck is actually pretty basic because most of what you need is actually from the advanced starter deck. All you really need is just 2 decks, and you basically have this deck built. Aside from a few cards like the Rapidmon, which you do get a reprint of, but you only get 1 copy in each box. So I highly recommend if you do decide to build the deck, to buy the old BT8 one because the original art that's not the parallel art or the alternate art is super dirt cheap. So it's actually easier to build it if you get that card. I think that's probably the only card that you really need to buy aside from one Quartzmon. But aside from that, the deck is honestly like pretty cheap from just buying 2 starter decks, which or advanced decks in this case. So it's pretty cool. You also get some really cool sleeves out of it. You get these exclusive Lotmon and Terriermon sleeves, which actually look pretty cute. I mean, especially with like Terriermon doing that, it's pretty awesome. And a lot of the artwork in the new cars are actually pretty cute. So I honestly am super down for that, but also down for using like rapid armor basically again, except in a green version basically, which works pretty well. But yeah, let's actually get into the deck profile so I can show you what I mean. So for the eggs, we of course are running 4 of the new Gummymon that comes from the advanced starter deck. For those that don't know what it does, it has an inherit of when attacking once per turn. If you have a green tamer, draw 1. Most of the time, you will be seeing a green tamer. In my build here, I run about let's see, like 7 or 8. So no matter what, you will see them continuously, and you will get that extra draw. So it's pretty solid. Also, this card is comes foil by default, so it's pretty cool. You can get a stamped version of this. I have one stamped version, but I'm just gonna stick with these for now since I'm still testing the deck at the moment. But yeah, so these are the 4 eggs that you run for the deck. For rookies, we run exactly 12. First off, we run the OG Terriermon from BT3. This guy did get a reprint in the Rising Wind set, and he is really good. He's still one of the best rookies that Green has to this day. Even Bloom and like Leomon run at least 2 copies of this to stop people from gaining memory. But also the fact is that its effect is just too good. It really sucks that it doesn't have an inherent because it comes from the first few sets where inherents weren't really a common thing. But it's still very useful in this deck, especially because a Terrier, meaning that you can search it and you can also evolve Rapidmon on top of it. Then we run 4 of the new Terriermon from this from this advanced deck, basically. Sorry if I keep saying starter, I'm just used to it because of my Yu-Gi-Oh days. Basically, this Terriermon is actually broken, honestly. Like, first off, this is the one of the super rares in the set. As you can see, the foiling is really crazy. Like you can see it here in the camera. It's, like, really nice. But it has, so it can Digivolve on top of Gummy for 0, but on any green, it just evolves for 0 anyway. Its main once per turn is really cool. You can play 1 green tamer or 1 level 3 Digimon with Lotmon and its name from your hand with the play cost reduced by 2. So you make basically a 1 cost level 3 or you make a 1 cost tamer, which is pretty gross. Then it has an inherent where all turns while this Digimon is suspended, it gains 1000. So once you block with it with Rapid or Mega Gargo, it becomes either 9000 or 13,000 blockers. So it's actually pretty good. And of course, it's just really solid being like a 4 of in this deck. Then we run 2 of the Terriermon from EX4. Main reason why I'm running this is A, because of the really cute art of him eating a hamburger, but also his effect is actually pretty decent. On play, you can reveal the top 4 and you add 1 2-color green card and 1 tamer card with Henry. You do run 3 Henrys, so you are basically guaranteed at least maybe like once to grab that, but usually you want it for the search of the 2-color card. But also its inherent is actually pretty good. Your turn, when Alliance suspends one of your Digimon, this Digimon can Digivolve into a 2-color card in your hand without basically reducing the cost by 2. So you can make a Rapid into like a 1 cost, which is pretty cool. So I run at least 2 just to kind of see that occasionally, but mainly because it's also a Terriermon target, so I like running it at the moment. Then we run 2 of the Lotmon from the advanced deck as well. This one's pretty cool. Main once per turn, one of your Digimon gains Alliance. This seems kind of weird to include, but it's actually pretty good because what you can do is with the new option card Searcher that the deck gets, Double Typhoon, you can play this down, grant your Rapidmon or Mega Gargo Alliance, and then trigger either this Terriermon or just trigger like the extra security check for it to kind of boost it. And of course, its inherit also is basically the same as the Terriermon, where while this Digimon is suspended, it gains plus 1,000. It's mainly here to grant Alliance, but it's also pretty cool that it can grant it by default or using its main effect, which is really cool. But yeah, we run these 12 rookies. For level 4s, we only really have like 2 Digimon in this, but we run like freaking 11 freaking level 4s, so you'll see what I'm talking about. So first off, we're running 4 of the Rapidmon from the BT8 set. This is the alternate art that is included in the advanced Double Typhoon deck. You only get 1 copy, so to actually get 4 copies, you have to buy multiple. I ended up basically buying another 2 sets because I plan to make 2 versions of Rapid, as you can see from my previous deck profile. I want to run both versions, so I bought 4 Double Typhoons. So now I have enough to basically have this art and then have the other one be my the old BT8 one. So yeah, you gotta run 4 of this. This card is just really good. It suspends your opponent's Digimon up to the amount of tamers. So if you have like 4 tamers, you're suspending 4 of their Digimon, and then up to 3 of their Digimon get minus 5,000, which can be really crucial if they're trying to rush you. You can basically wipe out their entire board in the process, which is really crazy. So running 4 of this is an absolute must. Then, of course, you're running 4 of the new Rapidmon armor from this starter or from this advanced deck as well. It digivolves for 3 on top of the Terriermons, so pretty solid. It has blocker and armor purge by default. And then all turns when this Digimon becomes suspended, one of your opponent's Digimon and all of their security Digimon get minus 4,000. So you can swing into their big guy and reduce it down so that you could kill it with this. And in conjunction with Terriermon or Lotmon, it's going to boost over it and kill it, which is hilarious because this armor guy just goes, nah, you're taking the damage. And then its inherent is all turns when this guy is suspended gets plus 1,000. So in conjunction with this, you're gaining plus 2,000. So you can essentially, if you do it right, you can make a Mega Gargo that's 15,000. So pretty solid. You have to run 4 of this. This guy is just really absolutely busted. Same with its original copy. It's very strong. Then for the last level 4, we run 3 copies of Gargomon, the new one specifically from this starter. This one's really cool. Like, I wasn't expecting this to be good, but it's actually surprisingly really solid in certain instances. Like, so my combo is where I would play out like a Lotmon and then give Alliance to my guy and then suspend this guy to give it the plus 5,000. So I can basically boost over everything. And then this also grants them jamming just in case. So it's like no matter what, it's going to basically check the security without having to worry. And then it still has the same exact effect as the Rapid and the Terrier and Lotmon, where it just gives plus 1,000. So pretty cool, but also another, I almost forgot about this. Its alternate Digivolution allows it to evolve on anything Terrier or Lotmon for only 2 cost. So you can actually evolve this on top of Lotmon in Raising and have your Terriermon out here evolve into Rapid, so it's pretty solid. As I mentioned, we're running exactly 11, which actually is a pretty solid number for this deck. You see these really often, and it kind of matches up with the 12 here, so it's not too bad. For level 5s, we only run 2 specific level 5s, and it's the 4 of the Rapidmon. This Rapidmon's pretty solid, and honestly really broken if you look at its effect. First off, it has an alternate Digivolution cost on top of a Gargo or a Rapid. It can evolve for 3 memories specifically. And then on play or when digivolving, you get to de-digivolve, and then if you have a green tamer on board, it can't be deleted by any of your opponent's effects, and it can't be returned to the hand or deck. So basically, the only thing that can get around this is like those alternate like removal things like Quantumon and like Chaos Degrade, but then they have to evolve to get rid of this, so it's not that big of an issue. Because not that many people are playing Bloom at the moment. Like Bloom is strong, but like it's still having some issues. And then its inherent is basically the same as the dual color green black metal Tyranno from the Machine Dramon deck, where when this guy deletes something by battle, either through blocking or attacking, you get to trash the top card of your opponent's security, which can actually help you win the game next turn or on that same turn. So it's pretty cool. And then the other level 5 we run is one Lilymon Ace. Lilymon Ace is kind of like a weird thing to include, but it's actually not bad because it can evolve on both Gargo and the Rapids. And the fact is that it suspends one of your opponent's Digimon and bottom decks them. So you can potentially get rid of an annoying problem either by just Blast Evolving or just hard playing it and leaving there. And then you can Blast Evolve Mega Gargo on top of either one of these guys or one of these Rapids, or you can evolve it on top of Lily, technically, so it's not too bad. It just sucks that when you do it on top of this, you're basically eating like -7 in overflow, but you know, sometimes you gotta do it. So it's actually not too bad, honestly. It's pretty solid. I'm just testing it out at 1 copy, but you can honestly take this out and remove it for something else. Like I was running, like I was testing out like Magnamon Ace and like some other stuff because there's yellow in here. So it's not too bad, but I just like the Lily because it helps us bottom deck stuff. But yeah, that's basically all the level 5s. We only run, as I said, the 2, so it's like just 5 exactly. But you do see these often enough, and you don't honestly really need them all the time because the level 6 that we run in this deck is honestly one of the most broken cards that have come out so far. For level 6, we are of course running the new Mega Gargo Ace from the advanced deck. It's really, this card is honestly broken. So broken part about it is that it can evolve on anything with Rapidmon its name for a cost of 5, but it's a blast evolution too. So you can evolve this on your opponent's turn by leaving this guy out or this one out, and you just blast evolve, unsuspend, block their guy, and it dies. And of course, the other effect that this card has, which just pales in comparison to its unsuspension power. So when digivolving, you can suspend 2 of your opponent's Digimon or Tamers, and then 2 of their Digimon or Tamers cannot unsuspend or digivolve until the end of their turn. So against almost any deck, this basically shuts them down immediately, like no problem. Just like, and I realized this can also technically stop Tamers. So against any hybrid deck, like let's say you're playing into Red Hybrid, which most likely you will be seeing after this video is posted because I am recording this after Red Hybrid won was it topped in a regional in Europe. So people are going to start playing it again. This hard stops all their Takuyas, so they can't evolve, and then they can't go off, because if they swing in with like an Alderman that's only like 12 or 13, you're like, okay, cool. I'm going to block, and then this is going to be like 15 or 13,000, and it's going to block it, and it's going to be like, okay, cool, so your guy's dead, and I made it so you can't follow up on any of your basically what the deck does. So this card is really broken. And then also at the end of attack once per turn, you can basically unsuspend this Digimon and swing again. So on your turn, if this guy is still out, you just go, okay, swing, maybe give it jamming with the Gargomon, then you unsuspend, swing again. And it even has reboot too, so on your opponent's turn, it's always going to be a blocker no matter what. So it's really crucial to run 4 copies of this. This card is really broken, and you need to run the 4 copies. We will be cycling this out once we get Rapidmon X, but for now, this guy is pretty much our de facto level 6, and we don't run any other because we want to be running into this instead. For level 7s, we only run 1 copy and 1 Digimon specifically, and that's Quartzmon. Quartzmon basically helps us lock out hybrids and like Blue Flare, like, you know, Metal Greymon here. Basically, it helps us stop a lot of decks that rely on their Tamers. I know it does stop us at the same time, but this hurts them more when we can just push up a new Rapidmon and go off from there. So you gotta run at least 1 copy just to kind of stop them from doing other stuff. That's basically all the Digimon in the deck. The rest are options and Tamers. We run actually a pretty fair amount of options, surprisingly, for a Rapidmon deck. So let's actually get into it. So first off, we run 3 agility trainings because this basically searches everything in the deck. So why not? and of course it reduces an evolution by 2. The cool thing is that with this and having the tamer Willis, they can actually go in conjunction because Willis triggers on Digivolution. So when you trigger this to Digivolve, Willis will trigger as well. So you're basically getting a reduction of 3, making a Rapidmon basically 0 cost. So this card is actually really good in conjunction with Willis. So we run 3. Then we run 3 double Typhoons because A, it lets us search. Or actually, no, since this is a new card, let me tell you what it means. So, Double Typhoon, basically, when you play it, you can reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 green Digimon and 1 such tamer among them to the hand. Basically, you grab 1 green Digimon and 1 green tamer, then return the rest to the bottom, and then you place this in your battle area. Then its delay is where you can play a Terrier or a Lotmon for free. And the cool thing is that you can basically use that to help set up the board and just go off and like give alliance to your guy through Gargo and jamming through Gargo. Its security effect is a little bit different. It suspends 2 of your opponent's Digimon, and then you get to place this in your battle area. So potentially this can actually stop your opponent from winning the game because it can suspend the other Digimon that can basically stop them. But yeah, you run 3 and 3 because that way you can see both consistently. Then we run 2 Giant Missile because this card is just really good. It's basically Terriermon or Rapidmon's version of was it Grandel Soul, the card for Bloomlord. That card was really cracked, but this one's it's basically the same exact thing, but just 1 memory more. It basically suspends one of your opponent's Digimon, then it returns one of their suspended Digimon to the bottom of the deck, and then one of their Digimon basically can't unsuspend until the end of their turn. So you can basically target something, suspend it, and then target something else that's already that's already suspended and make it so it can't do anything basically. So pretty cool. Then we run 2 Heaven's Judgment because almost everything in this deck except for Lilymon and Quartzmon are all basically dual. Actually, no, the rookies. So basically everything that you're going to be leaving out on the board has a dual color or more. So basically this will allow you to basically like do a lot of DP reduction. This basically can be played if you have a green tamer or basically any tamer in play. A green Digimon or a tamer specifically. Sorry about that. And the thing is that the cool thing about this card is that it activates 3 different times, depending on how many colors you have. So it does the initial 6,000, and then it activates another time for every other color you have on the field. So if you have a dual color, you're basically guaranteed minus 18,000. So you can potentially wipe an entire board with this. So you've got to run at least 2 of this because it can be played regardless. Because as long as you have a green Digimon, this can be played. So it's really powerful. That's basically all the options we run. We run about 10 options, which is kind of weird for a rapid like Digimon deck basically, but it actually works pretty well because 6 of these are searchers and then 4 of these are removal. So you have both kind of like a mix of removal and search. But yeah, for tamers, we of course run 4 Willis because Willis basically allows us to hatch a new egg on play. But the main thing is that we want it for the reduction. If you can set up like at least maybe 2 Willises, you're basically making your rapid 1 cost by default. So it's pretty cool. If you have all 4, it's like a -1 cost. So pretty solid. Then the rest of the tamers we have is 1 Henry Wong because it of course sets our memory to 3, and then when attacking with a green Digimon you could suspend something, so you potentially could suspend and like do another minus DP on something, so pretty solid. Then we run 1 of the new Henry Wong from the starter deck, which is it's actually pretty good. Start of your main phase, if your opponent has a Digimon you gain a memory, and its main effect is basically what Takato does. It's the one that basically lets you tuck a Rapid and a Gargo underneath a Terriermon that you have on the field, and then you can warp it into Mega Gargo for 4 cost. And the cool thing is that when you do that, it gives it Rush, so you basically are allowed to swing through that by and you could basically go, okay, so I'll evolve into the Mega Gargo Ace, and then you basically suspend their guy, then swing into it and do DP minus at the same time to kill it. So pretty solid. So you run 1 copy. That way, the main one you do want to see is Willis, but you want to see this and this occasionally. Then the last tamer we run is one Mimi because, of course, it helps us set up faster for next turn because whenever we have a level 5 green, we can suspend it to just hatch a new egg, or if we already have one in there, we can push it up and basically go for game. But yeah, this also, oh yeah, and it also does set our memory to 3, so pretty solid. Yeah, and that's basically the deck. As I mentioned, I'm still kind of testing things, like especially this Lilymon here and potentially just the ratios. But so far, the deck is actually pretty solid. I think the only changes I would honestly make is maybe like replacing the Lopmon, because I honestly, like, in testing, I've only used Alliance maybe once or twice. You don't really need Alliance half the time because of the jamming, but it is nice to have it. So it's like a maybe depending on how I feel. And then same with this Terrier. Like if I can get the other Terrier mons, I might replace it. But for now, this one is already a pretty solid searcher, so it's not too bad. Also, the fact is that, as I mentioned, once we get Rapid X in BT16, I will be replacing the Aces with it because that one can go on top of any Rapid anyway, and it does like it also has Armor Purge, and we're not eating an overflow of 4 from it, so it's not as bad. But it also does a lot of stuff too, so it just depends. Aside from that, yeah, no, the deck is pretty solid. It does really good right now in the meta against a lot of decks. I think the only deck that you might have an issue, like one of the issues I was thinking of was mainly dealing with Leviamon, but I think the only thing from there is just not to activate Double Typhoon because then it'll trigger Leviamon's like summoning. But aside from that, it's not actually that bad because since you have Armor Purge, you can survive the hit from Leviamon. I know it can double tap your guy, but even then, most of the time you should have an extra guy in raising and you should be able to swing because Leviamon, it's good, but the problem is that it only like affects the field and it doesn't affect breeding, which actually a lot of decks can't really do at the moment. But the main thing is that it can't really stop you. It doesn't really have that many blockers in the deck. It's mainly just like I'm gonna destroy your board. But when a deck like this where it's just like, okay, cool, I can just replay stuff anyway and I can just keep evolving up and doing minus DP on you, that's not really gonna do much. Like even if they hit like the memory tamer, you still have like plenty of other tamers out. So it just depends on how you play against it. And then of course you can also suspend their board with quartz, so then it kind of forces them to have to restart their combos. And then even if they have a Leviamon, you do have Heaven's Judgment and Giant Missile to kind of get rid of them. So it's not too big of an issue to deal with Leviathan at the moment. Against a lot of other decks, even like Greymon, it kind of struggles against the whole like I'm gonna suspend you and do damage to you. That actually does hurt a lot because most decks don't really expect to be suspended. That's why Bloomlord can still kind of consistently top in the meta because, like, I know I mentioned that Bloom's not doing as well, but it still has a way to do it compared to, like, a lot of other green decks. Main thing is that a lot of decks can't really stop the suspension of their guys. That's what I'm trying to explain. Aside from that, the fact that you can just blast evolve and just stop them from evolving, that basically hits the fundamental tool of Digimon, which is evolving. And when you take away that from a deck, basically, you basically hard stop them for a turn, and then it forces them to have to remove this, which actually usually ends up with them like playing down like an 8 cost removal card or something like a Chaos Degrade or something else. And yeah, sure, you're gonna eat the overflow, but they just wasted that much memory, and then that lets you set up and swing and do more damage on your next turn. So the ace is actually very strong right now, and I feel like this deck is actually kind of in tier 1 right now because of that. I know that yes, it's because it's an advanced deck, so of course they want you to play it, but it's more the fact that the deck is just so versatile that it can deal with a lot of different things at the moment. So that's why it's so strong at the moment specifically. Like it even has a way to counter like its other like counterpart, like Gallantmon. This basically protects against their deletion stuff. And yeah, sure, they can raid into it, but then you just basically blast evolve and block them anyway, and just gain more DP off of it. So yeah. Anyway, as usual, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you thought of the deck, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time.